hello again. Sorry if you're slightly sick of my face by this point, and Adam's as well, actually.
Never.
No, never. Obviously, we're beautiful. So welcome, as Steve says, to the last panel of AdventureX 2025. I'm sure you are all rearing to go to the after party. So thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come and join us. And hopefully it should be a bit of fun. Should be? Yeah, hopefully it will be. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Tom Hardwidge. I'm an indie game developer. Thank you. My one fan is in today. So I go by the name of Tool Story Games, and I kind of like to write stuff which I think is funny. So this panel is kind of slightly self-indulgent in that way. I'm always kind of looking for more ways to kind of improve my craft and learn from other writers. And most narrative games, even if they aren't comedies, will include some level of humour and interactions between characters, and as a device to kind of grease the wheels of conversation in a game as well. So hopefully by the end of this panel, there will be some little nuggets of... Sorry, I'm going to stop. Yeah, I'm going to... this bit just says invent words. So a little... Yeah, no.
Do you want me to...
I'm going to say the word nuggets because that's safe, of insight for you all to kind of take home with you as well. I thought I'd be all right because I'm actually reading this. I was really cocky. It's like, yeah, I've got crib notes. You guys have to worry about. I'm just fucking it up. So anyway, I've assembled a fantastic panel of amazing, hopefully actually funny people who have all come from kind of different professional backgrounds, but also ultimately they're writers, so they have a shared passion for kind of making people laugh. And I'm going to pass... Well, I've written down here I'm going to pass around the mic, but I don't have to because we have multiple mics, so that's buggered that bit. And I'm going to allow you to kind of introduce yourselves briefly, and then we'll get started. So, starting at this end, would you like to introduce yourself?
No. Sorry, I'm Sally Beaumont, and if my voice sounds familiar, it's because I'm a voice actor as well as a game writer. Apparently, you can be good at more than one thing. In terms of voice acting, you might recognise me as the voice of Fia Quinn from Old Skies. That's right, into my ego, yes. I'm the narrator of Heartspell, I'm in Lucy Dreaming, and Loco Motive, and Sails of Blake Manor.
Didn't like it.
And I'm in Metropolis, which you wrote on as well. So I have the amazing brag of working with everyone's writing while also being a writer myself, and none of them have done my writing. As a game writer, I also wrote on Old Skies, also on The Will of Arthur Flabbington, a bunch of other things. I'm working on my own thing, which is about fairies and puns. Because of course it is. I wonder if there's room in adventure games for puns. I'm also a comedy playwright, which is a thing. And yeah, I think that's roughly all that I do. Would you like a microphone?
Why not? Yes, thank you very much.
Don't know why I'm being so formal.
Are we applauding each of us as we're introduced?
Yes, I think so.
I feel like if you don't get a round of applause, it sets a precedent, and then I won't get a round of applause.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm going to be in such a bad mood for the whole thing. My name's Alasdair Beckett-King. So it's all about timing in comedy. If my face looks familiar, it's because of the Judeo-Christian tradition. And I can't really take any credit for that.
Why am I next to you?
So you didn't have to follow him?
I'm a stand-up comedian of sorts, and an internet... to quote one of my fans, one of those shitty internet comedians. Direct quote. But I also have written, I would say, 2.75 adventure games of varying sales. Varying degrees of profitability. And I used to organise AdventureX, so really I have every right to be here.
I've already introduced myself.
Hello, I'm Adam Riches. I'm a game developer, and I put out a year ago my murder mystery comedy adventure Loco Motive. I talked at length about it yesterday if you were here. Yeah, there's not much else. I'm just going to...
Let's have a round of applause then.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dave McCabe. If I look familiar, it's because I'm Alasdair after he let himself go. I'm the writer of the Darkside Detective series, and I guess other things. The Sands of Blake Manor, which came out recently. It's not a funny game, but it is a game that has writing. And I've written other things that I'm not going to tell you about. Not in a mystery. I just don't want to.
Cool, so let's go. Oh, no, yes, have a round of applause. Yes. I really didn't like your game. So let's get started with some questions. So a little bit, hopefully, a bit of an easy one to kind of break in. You've all got kind of individual styles of writing, but I'd like to kind of take you back a little bit and ask each of you kind of who you would consider to be key comedic influences, whether it's comedians or television, friends and family even. Who do you kind of align with and or aspire to be like? And Sally, would you like to start?
I should not have sat at this end. I always joke that I seem like a vampire because all of my references are from a very long time ago. I was heavily influenced by like Morecambe and Wise repeats in the 80s and that kind of physical comedy and like mucking about. And I'm also going to embarrass him by saying the voice of Dominica Martin. For me, I played Curse of Monkey Island at a time when I was just working out that things like writing and voice acting were actual jobs that pay money somehow. And just that particular character was so beautifully portrayed as such a complicated and like multifaceted thing in comedy. And I think a lot of people think of comedy as being a bit flat or broad or somehow lowbrow. And I do think that if you can write comedy, you can definitely write drama because understanding everything, it is about timing as well. And that thing, and just, I think those are big influences, like early adventure games and that timing thing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I keep forgetting. Like,
Time to share.
And I also have forgotten the question. What was this?
Just influences or who you'd like to sort of be like or, aspire.
Well, speaking as one of the panel's many white men, it's tricky.
I did honestly try. I made a zero effort.
It's tricky because a lot of the people we grew up admiring have since revealed themselves to be awful. Terry Pratchett has.
oh, thank God, yes.
Has thankfully not thankfully died.
That's a very dark turn. You said you wouldn't
Tragically,
has
very sadly died, but very thankfully not turned out to be a Roman. So I can say Pratchett without it being awkward. For me, a big influence was Terry Gilliam, who latterly has become sadly an extremely tedious old bloke. Well, I can do quite a good impression of Terry Gilliam, but it's useless because nobody knows what Terry Gilliam sounds like. I just have to take my word for it. It sounds quite like that. Yeah, it's a useless impression. But yeah, Gilliam, who's the animator with of Python, sort of wanting to combine animation and comedy and do things like that, and a great deal less successfully than Terry Gilliam, which people didn't think was possible, but I have achieved it.
Thank you.
Oh, it's me.
Go for it.
I was really thinking as this question was coming up, like, what are my influences? And I'm really glad you said Terry Pratchett because I was like, yes, of course. I own, my bookshelf is full of every one of his works.
It sounds like the background radiation of comedy. Of
background radiation, yes.
Sorry,
Radioactive. So it would be stuff like that. It would be sort of early Simpsons, early Futurama until they became not very good, I think.
Yeah.
Is that controversial to
No,
say?
I think that's perfectly legitimate.
So, maybe I'm aging myself a bit here, but I had them all on DVD, I watched them over and over again. And it's the commentaries that I would listen to back when they did that. They don't do that anymore.
I think it's only natural to kind of go back to things when you were younger as well, when things seemed brighter, literally, in some respect.
I wrote that.
I get it.
We're just going to sit in silence when our writing comes up. Just go, that's me.
Yeah, in
that's
fact,
me."
Adam even said you shouldn't do that because like it'll just distract people.
Yes.
But also it might distract people, so it's
I feel vindicated.
swings and roundabouts. No, it's okay. Yeah, go for it.
No one, fuck them all. No, I mean, to say, like, I grew up, I'm Irish, that's my diversity that I bring to the panel. But I grew up on the border, which meant that if you stuck a coat hanger in the back of your TV, you could get some of the British channels. And so I saw the Pythons and Faulty Towers and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and early Simpsons and all that. Yeah, like Douglas Adams. I love a lot of his weird stuff. And Pratchett too. And you know, that we all saw the same stuff and read the same books. And that's where we're at.
I'd also say Monkey Island as well. Although I started backwards. I started from Escape from Monkey Island, because that was a title that you could get with the PlayStation 2. Yeah, I loved it because it was the only one.
It only gets better from that point.
Exactly. That's the way to play it. You start with that one and then work backwards.
You've got the stamina to get through it.
I did one other thing. Space Quest 5: The Spinal Mutation. That was the first adventure game I played. I was like, this is really fun, and that for me, I think, was a very foundational piece of shit.
So, kind of moving on to the craft of writing and comedy writing itself. When you're adding humour into a game or whatever it is you're writing, do you, for kind of whatever reason, do you have any specific like narrative devices or ways of kind of injecting the humour? I know Sally mentioned kind of there's physical comedy. You know, we're talking about timing. Are there any things that you specifically kind of like to use or rely on when you're putting humour into your game? And Dave, you can start if you want to.
I think it depends on the project. When I was writing the stuff in Tavern Keeper, I was just thinking about D&D tropes and like what you can do with that that's sort of funny, and try and push that into like weird little places. With the Darkside Detective, a lot of times just thinking about like who would be a weird person to bump into in this little town, and what's their little weird thing that makes, because Darkside is like, it's this place where lots of strange things are happening, but no one knows. Everyone's just too busy in their own little like. So what is this person's like hyper focus, or what's the thing that's stopping them noticing there's a zombie over there or whatever that is? And usually there's something fun inside of that.
What's the question?
So what kind of So what sort of narrative device? I suppose. I mean, things like you've mentioned puns. Different kind of. When you're writing a joke,
I'd like to Susie Hard-handed with the microphone.
How do you form it? Or
I'm cheating in a way, because I sort of had my brother to work with.
Of course, yeah.
So I was bouncing everything off him, and if I could make him laugh, then I was like, well, I'm halfway there. And so that's kind of my crutch, basically.
Yeah. So I mean, that's it. And I've sort of, and obviously you've been a kind of solo dev sort of work and writing on your own, and I have as well. And it's when I like having the benchmark of. I know this isn't me. I'm not on the panel, but like
you are now.
I am now. Jesus. But like being able to. I like being able to just forget my thread completely, and honestly, this is. You guys are supposed to be fun. What's this?
The secret of comedy is bullying.
Yes, definitely. But no, like I've like sometimes I kind of I feel like if I make myself laugh, maybe that's okay. But then I think having that, you know, being able to be part of a team and be able to kind of bounce ideas off, I think like absolutely is incredibly important. And yourself, Mr. ABK?
Thank you for asking. There's a couple of things I've noticed about writing. So in the UK, we have a thing called Radio 4, and there's a show on it called The News Quiz, where people make jokes about the news. And I've noticed that I've got to do that a few times. It's very similar to writing for adventure games, in as much as, or narrative games in general, in as much as you've got a whole load of topics which aren't particularly funny. You have to try and think of something funny to write about, or something funny to say about them. And it's exactly the same challenge as being handed a location by an artist and trying to come up with funny descriptions for all the things, which is actually kind of kind of shit, I think. Having made a game which sort of sells itself as a comedy game, writing for Unforeseen Incidents, which was on the screen a little while ago, was more fun.
Nelly's come up.
No, yeah, this is the kind of crap I'm talking about. Awful. Everybody hates it. But Unforeseen Incidents is a mystery game that's also funny, but it's principally a mystery game. And in writing the descriptions for that, because it wasn't, I wasn't producing the art, it was nice because I felt like when you interact with something in the space, it should either be telling you something about character, so the protagonist, it should be telling you something about character, or if it's relevant to a puzzle, it should be giving you a hint, it should be moving the story forwards, or it should be funny, and ideally all of those things.
Yes.
But it wasn't a requirement that every single interaction needs to be funny, because that isn't really possible or enjoyable. So it's fine for it not to be a joke as long as it's interesting. But it's great if it's a joke. It's also a great technique. I write mystery novels. It's very handy, and many people have made this observation before me. If something needs to not be noticed, if you need to try and get something across and you don't want the player to notice it, but you do want them to remember it, it's very helpful if it comes in the form of a joke, because a joke explains itself. So a piece of extraneous setup, or seemingly extraneous setup that's going to be really important later on, it's great if it's attached to a joke. So this doesn't help you with writing jokes, but jokes help you with writing everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think I feel like I'm just plagiarising Alasdair now, which is another secret of comedy.
Plagiarising in general, not me specifically.
No, we're not plagiarising.
You're very funny. But you've talked before about how basically a joke is that you set up an expectation and then subvert it.
Yeah, I invented that.
Yeah. I just I don't want to be like, I'm handing down this comedy wisdom. No, this is a thing. But I know you talk about it a lot, and it's really useful. Is that because adventure games can be very expositional, you already have a setup. And so you can, particularly with our long history as well, you can create a subversive twist on lots of things. And it's the thing you were saying about not everything has to be a joke is actually really important. Like the same as in art, negative space allows you to understand what's important. And sometimes if it's just joke after joke after joke after joke, it just washes over you. So similarly, if you create a passage which has no jokes, that's a way of zeroing in the player's attention of, wait, why is this so serious? And then you can just kick him in the stomach with a joke at the end, and that has a great payoff. I do enjoy doing that.
Just kicking people in the stomach.
Yeah, mainly.
Yeah.
Do you take punchline literally? Just
So I'm a big fan of puns, and there have been actual studies done on this about Christmas cracker jokes, the jokes that come in Christmas crackers, and that the joke in them is intentionally bad, because jokes can be really polarising, and if only half of the people at the Christmas table are laughing, that's not good. Whereas if everyone at the table goes, oh, that's a bad joke, suddenly you've got that unification. If we're all groaning at the joke, then we're sort of all outside the joke, sort of vaguely disapproving of the joke. And that can be very freeing. I always say I don't have a cringe gland, so I'm just constantly punning. This is one of mine. Basically, in the Will of Arthur Flabbington, I just inserted a lot of words like plonker, and let's face
That's
it.
basically my technique as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's just some words that sound really funny, and again, there's probably good science on that somewhere. But yeah, the idea of a pun not being a show-off clever thing, but of something that is just is really fun for me, and that's maybe bad, but also I enjoy doing stuff like that.
That actually segues perfectly into my next question, which is about subjectivity. So comedy is highly subjective, as you've literally just said. Not everyone's going to find the same thing funny. So when you are writing a joke, you're writing something which has got lots and lots of jokes in it, and it's a comedy game. How do you kind of decide what to leave in and what to take it? So, I mean, I'm guessing not every single joke you ever come up with is going to end up in the game. How do you decide whether, or maybe it is, but they're all gold. But how do you know, or how do you decide what to leave in, what to take out.
Do you guys want
Yeah, or Alasdair, do you want to start or with this one and then?
All right, yes, I will. Yeah, I do agree with you, but I'm going to disagree for dramatic purposes.
Please do.
I do think comedy is subjective, of course, but I also think it's objective that if an audience is laughing, something was funny. And so people often, people will watch a stand-up comedian they don't like on YouTube. I'm not saying me, but like it could happen to like a really good stand-up, and people will say this isn't funny, the laughter is fake, and it's not true. Like the laughter is real. It's just you don't like it. So it's simultaneously true that it's very funny for the people who are enjoying it, and not at all funny for you, which is, I suppose. Or maybe I've just defined subjectivity, but a moment ago, now I invented that. A moment ago you said that bullying is comedy, or comedy is bullying, as a joke.
No, it's not.
Now there's a famous apocryphal Terry Pratchett quote, which is that if you're punching down with comedy that isn't comedy, it's bullying, which is widely shared as if Pratchett said it. Actually, I think a fan of Terry Pratchett said it inspired by his writing. I think it's not true, unfortunately. I wish it were true that only morally good comedy was funny, but that isn't true. Like bullying is very funny to the bullies. This is just not very funny to the victims, and we should be honest about the fact that the reason we don't like racist comedy is. Am I being undermined by?
Yeah, I'm so sorry about it.
But we should stop looking at me. We should be honest about the fact that the reason we don't like racist comedy is that it's racist, and we have a moral objection to it, for instance, rather than saying it isn't funny, because a room full of people laughing at a racist comedian demonstrates that it is funny to them. And so I don't think you can worry about the subjective element of it. Of course, you can be led by an audience, but the problem with being led by an audience is that loads of people like all sorts of things that you don't like. And so you can be guided by people enjoying or not enjoying things, but you'll also have to be led by an aesthetic, a moral, a question of taste, what you want to do, what you find funny, and just hope other people enjoy it.
Adam, do you want to have or go on, put you on the spot now.
No.
But like, yeah, how do you know what when you kind of think of a joke? I know, like you said, you bounce it off Joe. But kind of if you're sort of going the editing process and like you get to joke and you kind of go, that's for some reason that's not right, or that's brilliant, that's definitely staying. What sort of things do you kind of compare it to or think about when you're trying to edit them down?
I mean, it's hard because when you're playing through the game for the 900th time, and you're reading the same jokes.
Yeah.
You start to lose confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're like, okay, I'll have the fifth time, but now it's the 90th time, and is it still funny? So like, it comes down to just gut feeling, I think, and just having the confidence that it was funny the first time, and like once you start second guessing yourself, then it's all shot,
Yeah, if you're not sure whether one of your jokes is funny, then you're just going to kind of the whole thing crumble. You're like, is any of this funny? Should I even bother on? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dave, do you have any thoughts on?
No, really.
Okay,
It's like you gotta just trust yourself, and ideally you have some people you test it with.
Yeah.
Especially in games like you're gonna bring it to QAs, you're gonna bring the rest of your team. Ideally, you'll bring it to events like this, and you'll see people play it, and you'll watch them, and you'll see them go.
Yeah.
Twice you go, fuck yeah. And the rest of the time you'll have to go, you're fucking dead inside. And you just got to trust the process, really, as much as trusting yourself. You're right, after the 600th time, it's not funny, but you know that it was, and that other people find it funny in the first place. Yeah.
Have you had kind of moments where someone's been testing it and they've said, like, they've given you a reason why something they think is kind of inappropriate or shouldn't, like the humour was, for them they found offensive, and you kind of you can't see that in there, and you kind of I don't know, is there anything you disagreed with and then you've kept it in, or have you always kind of been safe?
Usually if someone finds something disagreeable, usually then other people are going to find it disagreeable, and you got to decide if that's important or not. And often we take it out because it just doesn't fit. The world of Darkside's not meant to be offensive in that kind of a way, unless you're a billionaire, in which case it is offensive to you, and purposefully so.
I like punching up.
And there's been some really hard ones. Like there was a very difficult one. We had a character called Mammy the Clown, and Mammy in Irish is the most endearing word you can. Like it's your mammy. You fucking love your mammy. But in America, it's really racist. So it's a racist slave term kind of thing. And to have that word polluted by fucking America was really, What was in that case, we changed it to Mummy the Clown, which is meaningless. It's an Egyptian dead person, but look, it was close enough, but it lost, and that was a real lot of fight to figure out was that the right thing to do or not. And in the end, we were like, look, somebody somewhere could get unintentionally offended, so why do it? Like, just that doesn't fit what we're doing there. Other games maybe you would keep that fight. You go fuck them, whatever. It just depends. But for us in that moment, that wasn't the thing to keep.
Yeah. I do think that it's super important to have friends who are not writers and not in the games industry, so that you can text them at 3 a.m, is this still funny? I'm not joking. Hi, Jackie. I'm so sorry. I have a wonderful friend who enjoys my jokes. She's enabling me a lot. And it is just really important to have just that one person who you're writing for in your mind's eye. And that can become a real North Star for whether you keep something in or not. Not because you keep bothering that person, it's the idea of the person. I want to be very clear on that. But if you write jokes for this sort of nebulous crowd of people, it becomes an avatar for all of your self-doubt, and you will write nothing. Or you'll cut everything and defang all of your best stuff. Whereas, if you imagine the friend that you've got who always thinks, the weirder you are, the better you are, and you lean into that, that then becomes a way of avoiding the fear of being perceived. And it can be very helpful to think about when you're cutting things, like, how tight can I make this joke? What is the minimum amount that I can write here to get the same kind of payoff? I think that's probably that's how I keep myself sane on these things.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I'm sort of interested now in I know some of you kind of have some skin in the game in terms of this one, but in terms of writing comedy based on whether you know the final dialogue or the final writing that is going to be enjoyed by people is going to be kind of voiced and read out loud, or whether it's just going to be read kind of inside something. And I know kind of Dominic mentioned in his talk yesterday about the fact that with Monkey Island 1 and 2, that it lived inside people's heads, and he had to then and then obviously with 3 it was going to be dealt with in a very different way. So I know you have very kind of experience of this with Darkside not being voiced, and obviously you doing voice work. So I suppose my question is, what kind of changes in your approach to writing if you know it's going to be spoken aloud or just written word?
It's a lot. I mean, I think in terms of kind of word count, when things are voice acted, just even tighter. No, tighter than that. No less words. However many words you think, it's less. Because what you're doing when you're adding voice acting is not just a bunch of sounds, you're adding subtext, or you should be adding subtext, she says vocally. But there's no other way to say that, Sal. When you have voice acting in, you're adding an extra layer to potential jokes and humour. And you need to give the player space to process that. If it's a great big long paragraph, when you could do it in a sentence, that is then burdening. And it's also, you have to be mindful that a lot of players will read a lot faster than they'll listen. And reading ahead and seeing the joke and then waiting 3 seconds and then the joke pays off verbally is excruciating. And that's probably more to be mindful of splitting things up, and the timing of dialogue arriving on screen is really important. And again, just timing being so important. I think, just the tightness of it, the brevity, the economy of it needs to really be there. And I think, I'm interested to hear what Dave thinks, just because all the Darkside Detective games are so funny, written down, just so funny, and just moving on to doing not funny, very serious horror stuff. And just the change of that. There's some words that are really funny when you hear them, but written down, nothing. Yeah. And vice versa as well. And so it's just really interesting.
We actually did test voice acting for Darkside and hated it.
Yeah.
For a number of reasons. It broke the pacing of it. We keep, not many words on the screen, you click through, you're going at your own pace, you get to enjoy that. But we found that most people have a voice for the characters in their own heads. Yes. And as soon as we put voices down, the three of us were like, well, none of that sounds like the characters that we have. And I like, not having voices, I think, is why it went so well with streamers, because they could do the voices because they all think they're very funny. And that was shots fired. But yeah, I mean, we did test it, and we just felt that it really ruined the pace and the flow of the game. But obviously, yeah, as you say, with Blake Manor, another comedy classic, we did put voice acting in. But I mean, we didn't convince the publishers to give us money for voice acting until very close to the end, so we didn't really consider it. We just wrote, this is what the character should be saying at this moment in time, and stuck with that. We did trim some things a little bit once it went into voice acting, but usually in the performance when someone was stumbling, okay, let's change that. But as long as the meaning was kept. But again, it's easier to edit non-comedy stuff in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sort of following on from what you were saying, Sally. So a lot of when we were writing this game, we would have like an open Google document. And I did a lot of work remotely with Joseph. And so we would actually do the bits out loud and we'd do the voices. So like we wouldn't write it, we'd do it, like perform it. And then that way the humor and the dialogue becomes conversational because you are literally saying it. And it's very different writing it. And if you write something out, like you can tell immediately when you say it that it doesn't sound the same. So that's how he wrote the entire game. And like, I mean, I have to say, like, once we did get the voice acting in, it massively elevated everything we wrote. And, we were very lucky to have amazing voice actors on the game.
I'm so modest.
Sally voiced the train.
Yes. Can you give us a... No, I won't let you... Perfect. But yeah, that was the element that I think worked really well with our process.
Alasdair.
Well, so that's unforeseen incidents, and that's Harper. He's the main character. And if you think Harper's funny, then you probably based on the reviews I've read, if you think he's funny, you probably like the game. And if you think he's not funny, you probably don't like the game. But I think there's perhaps a truism there about adventure games and narrative games that you don't. There are anti-heroes out there, but if you don't like spending time with the person who you're spending time with, then you probably don't like the game. And humour is not universal. So, if you don't enjoy Harper's sense of humour, if you don't enjoy the fact that he's trying to be funny or trying to find a way of coping with a difficult situation, then you're not going to like the game. And that's that. But we were lucky. Matt Curtis, who voiced Harper, who's been in a load of other indie adventure games, he's a terrific voice actor. But also, he just reads the lines the way you wrote them in your head, without you needing to direct him, which saves a hell of a lot of time, because most actors are idiots, and they don't know anything. They're just the worst people. With Matt's. So there's a particular line. I don't think it's the funniest line in the game. I don't think it's the best thing I've ever written. Harper has a ham radio in his flat, and if you examine the ham radio, it's like a broadwave radio, or whatever it's called. He says, I think I wrote the line. That's right, ladies. It's my ham radio. Oh, Harper, we love your ham radio. Quiet, ladies, please. And I wrote it with that rhythm in mind, and that is exactly the rhythm that Matt says it within the game. And I wasn't there when he recorded it. He recorded exactly the line as I'd written it because he understood that you have to do a funny sort of, he's just trying to be pathetically funny to himself in his own room kind of a voice. I think...
Did you use kind of punctuation, or like when I kind of write, so I kind of usually kind of ellipses and pauses and line breaks wherever I can to kind of try and force the spaces and things. Did you kind of...
In my experience, and I may be wrong about this, if you write ellipses, you write 3 dots, voice actors will pause for about 400 years.
When I said comedy is bullying, I meant when I'm the bully.
And you can edit those out.
So apart from the obvious of making people laugh, what else do you think comedy can add to a game? Adam, do you want to... surprise everyone with
That's like the noise of Sunday afternoon at AdventureX.
I mean, it's difficult, right? Because Loco Motive, it's comedy at the forefront. So, like, it was the main ingredient.
Yeah.
So, like, it's hard for me to think of what it would have been like without that. Probably really short.
really short. No, that's fair enough. Sally, you took the mic. Do you want to?
I did, didn't
you
I?
have an opinion on this?
I need to pause for
Please, 400 years until Sally finishes.
I've actually forgotten the question.
The question. So, and what else? And I think you've actually touched on this a little bit before. What else can comedy or jokes kind of add to a game? I know you mentioned the kind of negative space. I thought that was...
Yeah, I think for me, so I use a lot of comedy when I'm writing drama, and I'm responsible for a lot of the silliness in Old Skies. So I'm the person who came up with the plant master thing. So nobody's played it. It's fine. That was so quiet, by the way. Thank you. Yes, one person. But what I find is you can use comedy as kind of the velvet glove thing that while people are going at something, you could just like hit them with something really serious, and it just lands in a very different way. You can tell that what I'm talking about a lot is patterns, that you're creating patterns and expectations and then subverting them. So you're sort of driving the player around where you're going, hey, we're going this way, up. And you can do that with drama going to comedy, and you can do it with comedy going to drama. And it's very much, for me, it's like a feel thing, which is not helpful for a panel. But like the thing that you were saying about doing the scenes with your brother is so heartening, and I think that really comes through in the dialogue. I mean, it was an absolute, it was so easy to be funny in Loco Motive. It was just really a joy to work with that. And I think when I'm writing on my own, I'm improvising a scene in my head with myself. Because I do a lot of like comedy improv stuff, that writing is just improvisation inside my own head. And that's how you get around the problem of it being seeming like writing. It should feel like talking, really. I don't know where I'm going with this.
No, it's good.
Did that subvert an expectation that I had a point?
Alasdair, also, I mean, on this point, you kind of mentioned using humour to kind of almost hide the importance of something.
Yes.
Would you like to
That would
reiterate
be
that same point again?
Would have been great if I'd saved that for this
Yeah,
question.
well, I was thinking.
I didn't know you were going to ask it later. The uses of comedy. I do think comedy is an end in itself.
Yeah.
I do think you can also use it as a tool. Terrific games like Little Misfortune and the Frank Bow games. I remember reading just a fan review of that, saying I felt that the humour was it was really inappropriate to have all this sort of, it combines incredibly dark themes with very silly humour and sort of toilet humour sometimes, and I thought that was very interesting because it's like you could watch Twin Peaks and go like, oh, but someone was murdered. Should we really have all this weird stuff and all these jokes? A woman is dead, it's perfectly reasonable. Like if you don't like it, you don't like it. Yeah. But I do like it, and I do think those games, the Kill Monday games, are the closest thing in point and click we have to like sort of David Lynch, in that they're really, really sincere about the horror and they're really sincere about the dark stuff and they're really committed to being very silly at other times. I don't know. I don't think comedy needs to serve a purpose except as an end in itself. Yeah. But it pairs very nicely with other things. And I don't know that I would want to be selling a game which is principally a comedy game, because I like comedy, but when I hear about a game is principally a comedy, I go, no, I'm not going to.
Sorry.
I did it. I know I did it.
Wow,
and I hate it.
Who is this guy?
What I mean is, if you tell someone your game is a comedy, I think that most people's reaction is, well, that doesn't sound very funny.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. You're definitely.
Whereas if you say it's a mystery on a train.
Yeah, you're definitely setting yourself up for a fall in some ways. Yeah.
I was going to say
I think the thing that comedy is quite nice for is that it sort of opens your audience up. And like with Darkside, for example, we like to inject a lot of philosophy, a lot of criticism, a lot of satire, a lot of stuff about community and support and love and friendship and all that. That I think if there was no comedy, it would be a bit twee. No one would want to play it and stuff. And so we can mask a lot of the intentions that we want to put into the universe. We can bury that behind jokes, and people are more susceptible to it.
That's a great point. Sincerity is awful, isn't it? The worst. Jokes are good.
That's the whole panel. Sincerity bad, jokes good.
Absolutely, summed up. So it's like I kind of slightly flippant one at the end. So can you think of a joke or a comedy moment from another game that wasn't written by you that you kind of you've always stayed with and you've gone, God, I really wish I'd written that.
Stop looking at me.
We can start with Dave if you want.
No, thank you.
We'll start with Sally.
No, thank you.
I can't think of one either. No. It doesn't have to be any media. It doesn't have to be a game. It could be anything that anyone has ever said in the history of time.
I've got one.
Guys, just go on.
I think, I think probably one of the first voiced adventure game I played was Curse of Monkey Island. But I'm afraid I'm going to quote a Murray line. So, because I think I enjoyed it because I slightly saw the joke coming. I saw the punchline coming, and then it was the punchline I thought. So not only did I laugh, I was like, I'm some kind of genius. I could write that. So it's fairly early on in the game. I think Murray the Skull is on one of his big rants, and he says like, and I will stride through the gates of hell. And roll. That was off mic, but that was a gorgeous moment for me. And Guy Bruce says, "Don't you mean roll?"
Don't you mean roll?
Roll through the gates of hell. And he doesn't miss a beat, and he's like, "Roll through the gates of hell," and it's beautiful. And as that was for me, thank you.
And anybody, any other jokes or
I
anything?
just want to talk to Dominic.
Yeah. Well,
I've gone off the rails.
yeah, that's it. I see.
No, we're
We've
just
lost
playing the
complete
scene now.
control of it
Shut
now.
up, shut up. I'm just joking. I wouldn't put you on the spot like that. Don't worry. For me, it's Curse as well. Me and my brother used to sing "There's a Monkey in My Pocket" to each other, and it's just like, and I don't think those songs are there for any reason at all. They're just pure whimsy, and I just loved the detail where it's like, if I keep clicking on this, there's going to be another silly song, and it's all framed beautifully because the lights go down and the spotlight comes up, which doesn't make any sense in a pirate game, and I just was like, yeah, this is my stuff. Just keep it really, really weird. And yeah, just that somebody would put that effort in, and I just love when it feels like the game is kind of playing you back a little bit. That it's like, yeah, no, I know that you're going to be curious about this, and I'm going to slightly subvert what we're going to do here. And like for those players who are like the dialogue option exhausters, of which I am one. Just always putting a little something in there just to reward that behaviour, because like we love you. We love when you're like reading everything. It's really good. But yeah, I think like Curse was really important to me for so many reasons. But just the way that you could tell a story which had like moderate peril and also jokes. I was just like, yeah, okay.
Do you guys need me to leave so you can talk about
No, please don't leave. Never leave.
May I add something to that? I just wanted to, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to add to Sally's point. We saw yesterday at the Dark Room,
Yes.
where people sort of toyed with John Robertson by choosing the same option. I don't know who it was, I don't know if that person is still here, by choosing the same option over and over and over again to see if it changes.
Yes.
And of course it does change eventually, and John becomes angrier and angrier and angrier. But when you do these things, because you know, games are made with fairly small teams, the kind of games we play, it does feel, and I think this is what you were saying, but I want to say it again in order to get the credit, is it often feels like this is a joke just written for me, because who else tried to combine those two inventory items, you know, in like a bend there, Dan that game?
I just want to say, as the only woman on this panel, I really appreciate that a man repeated my idea. So yeah, that idea that you're playing something and you do something and it's like, I'm the only one in the world that's got this joke. And like, you're not, but also being made to feel like a little special flower is lovely. And also when a joke can make you feel like you've been clever for getting the joke, which we created so you would get the joke, is it's good for your ego, but just, yeah, it's really, yeah. Do you want to repeat that? You're like, yes.
Great point, yeah.
I see what you mean.
I did it to me!
Those were answers to a much better question than the one I actually asked.
Oh,
No, please do. But that does bring me to, unless you have anything more you wanted to add, you said no, and quite a
I can't
defiant way.
remember most of what happened in a day.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I haven't played a game in so
So
long.
should we? Are you happy to open up the floor to any questions from?
If anybody wants to ask a question, it could be sat near the front, grouped together. That'd be great.
Anybody?
literally.
Anybody have
Yeah, we have-
questions?
One over there, and
One
one
over
in
there.
there.
Let's start over there.
It would be good if the hands moved further away from Stephen.
Do you find you need to write jokes differently if they're just in text versus if they're voice acted?
They sort of.
That was one of the questions. Apologies if the panel didn't answer my question properly. I don't take any responsibility for that. But you can add some more.
I don't know if we answered it directly. I would say no, because I think, like Adam says, you're probably saying the lines aloud to see if they sound funny when you're writing.
Hopefully.
And even if it's like a tongue twister limerick, you're probably seeing how hard it is to say. You know?
I've found, from my point of view, it's not that I necessarily write them differently, but I definitely heavily edit them based on. So I've done kind of. When I've read them aloud, I've written them down and I've heard them in my head and I've gone, yeah, that feels right, the rhythm feels right. And then when I've come to kind of record them, if I'm doing the voice myself or if I'm doing just a placeholder, I'll try and record them and I'll just go, yeah, that word doesn't need to be in there, that doesn't need to be in there. And I kind of use it as almost like an editing method.
So for me, because I'm doing two things at once, I'm always doing acting and writing at the same time. It seems to me very intuitive that, of course, those would be two very different things. And, you know, like you said, that I'm kind of experiencing it as written and spoken at the same time. But yeah, again, it's about brevity and tightness and not being precious. And I think when people come into writing and they've not done any acting, and I do always recommend writers do a little bit of acting, specifically doing improv is incredibly helpful because it helps you to distill an idea and to buy into an idea and say yes to something and build on it. And it takes you out of your head that what you're doing is writing and you want people to see your writing and know that you're a good writer. And there's some writing. Oh, that's some writing right there. When you act writing and you do improv, you sort of understand that the words are serving the larger joke, the larger scene, the project. And yeah, so I think they are very different. So when you're making something, you do need to know if you're going to need to edit it down for voice acting. But also, when it's just written, the subtext has to be in the text as well. When you get voice acting, you can use subtext, so you can say, I'm fine. Whereas on screen, you would just say, that's fine. Yeah. So yeah, that's a big distinction for me.
Can I just, yes, and?
You can repeat it.
No, it's just that, of course, it's a very good point that you're making, because I know I was implying that actors were very annoying
No, I have.
before, but improvisers, Jesus. You thought actors were bad. I've got nothing to add, really. I was being silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does this work? Hey, great.
So you're all hilarious people, obviously, which is not always the case with everyone in the room in your development teams, unfortunately. Yeah. Now, how have you handled including a joke that you thought was absolutely hilarious and just does not land in the team, but you put it in the script and had to defend your jokes? How have you handled that? Do you have any fun stories there?
I mean, usually if you have to defend a joke, you should drop it. Because my thinking is like, if let's say everyone in this room played a game and one of you didn't like something, well, hopefully the game is going to be played by thousands of people, and that one person becomes 100 people, 1,000 people, and you got to think about, well, is there a way I could edit that joke? Jesus Christ! Is there a way I could edit that joke? Is there a way I could edit that joke so maybe we'd land more with the, because like it's the same as when someone says there's something wrong with the logic of a puzzle. You go and, well, I don't think there is because I don't know how it works, but I accept that people probably will, and if you do, then more people will, and you just try to you don't want to be too precious about any of this stuff because it's just easier to change it. It's very rarely worth fighting, I think, to defend a particular piece.
This is how I know that you have a great team. Because like ideally you would be on a team where you all share that same sense of humour. But obviously that's not necessarily how you put a team together. And actually, if your joke is not landing with the rest of the team, that either means your joke is not within the vision of the game, or something else is like disconnecting. So it's worth like digging into. I don't always like throw out a joke. And obviously, like, because I'm a real tryhard, I'll like go, no, you don't get it, because he's not really fine. See? And as everyone knows, the more you explain a joke, the funnier it gets. So, but yeah, honestly, I think that humour is such a useful way of team building. It can be really useful in the early days. And so ideally, you would have done that already. So you would know everyone's sense of humour. And you hopefully have a vaguely similar sense of humour because you're all working on the same project. But yeah, like I say, I wouldn't immediately throw it out, but it would make me kind of go, okay, I need to reassess, I guess.
Or reframe it.
And I wouldn't immediately throw it out. I'd throw a strop and stop for a while. Maybe kick a puppy and then come back and take it out.
Any more questions? Oh, there's a few more.
Yes, I actually have a very similar question to that one, but more about testing and sort of thinking about target audience. As you've mentioned before, like humor is very subjective, and what's funny to some people is not funny to other people. So when you're testing, would you just test with your sort of target audience and the particular crowd that you're catering that particular type of humor to, or would you test more broadly to get different perspectives? And also, Sally, thank you for being the token woman on the panel.
As a man, to answer that question. Go on, Sally, be a woman. Say woman things.
Honestly, it's an honour to tick that box.
I'm coming across like such an arsehole, but honestly, it's such a niche within it, like comedy writing within narrative games, with people who are actually able to attend and things like that. I'm digging a hole, but I'm going to defend. I've tried so hard to make this as diverse as possible. I've failed on every single count. Jesus Christ! I forgot what diversity even means anymore. Would you like me to talk over you some more?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. So I'm a flaky creative, so I don't always get involved in the testing. So that's my cop-out. But yeah, I think it's possible to over-test things like comedy. I think you can knock all the fun out of it. And at the same time, it's sometimes nice to have the testers tell you something was really funny when, 3 years ago you thought it was funny and you don't know anymore. That can be useful, the outside perspective. But yeah, I'm going to stop speaking.
Stand-up comedy is written differently to other kinds of comedy for the most part, which is that it isn't written first. You start to say it, and then it's written. And it's a very iterative process. And some people come with pages and pages of A4, and some people come with sort of an idea, or just to set up a punchline that might turn into a routine. If it's funny, I don't think that's the same thing as trying to cater your joke towards an audience, because I'm not sure. Maybe those of us who work in marketing are doing that, but I think the creatives have been probably, the people who are writing and drawing things are hopefully shielded from that a little bit, because I think we're probably all writing for ourselves when we were 14 or something like that. I don't think you're actually thinking, what kind of thing would the average person find funny, and then trying to write that. And I just simply don't think it. I don't think you're actually writing it for someone. But then you are, with stand-up at least, you have the advantage of just trying it out. And yeah, if people don't laugh, you cut it.
I think
it doesn't make it into the show.
Yeah, you almost risk writing it for nobody. So that's the worst. That's the death, like you said, of comedy.
That's not just comedy either. Really anything. Yeah. You try to think of. Well, yeah, I guess. I was just going to shout. Yeah, and that's true of all writing. Really, like it's like you might have in your mind going, okay, this is targeted towards young adults, or it might be targeted towards kids, or it might be targeted, but largely you're writing something. You go, I like this, and I hope that someone else likes it, and really, really hope that many other people like it. But like, if you're writing something that you don't like, get a different job. Like, just work on a different project. It's not for you. And if you don't find the jokes in the game funny, that game's not for you.
Yeah, just quit. Just get out. Just get out of video games now. It's a dying industry.
Because you're usually working on this game for like multiple years, and so it's not a sprint; it's a marathon. You need to have the passion to get to the end.
Do we have room for one?
Unless we are trying before someone writes at the format. Oh, of course there is someone up there and it's roses. Okay, I can't not get this question.
Better be good.
No pressure.
Hello, YouTube's pushing up roses.
Oh, jeez. Thank you.
Yeah, a lack of a woo from the
This question's actually just for Sally. Sorry, everyone else.
That's okay.
So I do some comedy writing on YouTube, and inevitably I'll get a comment, or a lot of comments, that say, wow, you're actually really funny for a woman. And they it's not a compliment, but they earnestly mean it as a compliment. What would you say to people who earnestly mean that, that think that this is a compliment, that like women are not as inherently funny as men, but you are?
Thank you.
It is a tough one to navigate, because like, oh, you're funny for a girl is like, it's so entrenched and just. Sorry, I've just got deep sighs and screaming. That's all I've got. I don't know, because like not everybody wants a lecture when they've paid you a compliment, so it's a difficult spot to be in, and so I've just started to just say yes.
You are correct.
That is a correct opinion. I am funny, because that's the funniest thing I can say in that given moment. But it's always really interesting that it's always, you are very funny, ergo you are the exception. And this can happen 100 times. And they're all the exceptions because, women aren't funny. And it just never seems to quite get through. And I'm aware that I'm kind of trying to answer a question about a systemic problem with an individual solution. And my answer has mainly been sarcasm. And that largely works for me to just sort of survive it. I don't know, man. I just kind of sympathise, and just like anyone who is doing comedy writing, who is marginalised in any way, it is much harder. And I'm just going to say that Tom worked very hard to try and make this panel a bit more diverse. We've been joking about it all day, but I really appreciate that. And I do also want to say,
failed.
If you do comedy writing and you don't see yourself here, it's not because you don't belong. You do belong. We need you. The more stories, the more viewpoints we have, the funnier things get. I really firmly believe that. And the more normal it is for a woman to be funny, anyone to be funny, that eventually we're going to saturate things and we won't be the exception. I don't know what the tipping point of that is, but I do know I feel like I've been talking a very long time.
I think that definitely deserves a round of applause. Thank you to all the panellists, to Sally, Ali, Adam, Dave, and thank you all for coming.